Welcome back to the Mind Body Project. Thanks for taking a little time to join me today. How many times have we seen maybe a big cruise ship, they pull up to a port and they drop their anchor? And, or they may be out in the sea and they may drop an anchor. We may be on a little boat and we may drop an anchor. When we see that happen from a cruise ship or a fishing boat or a sailboat, we see that anchor. What do we think about when that anchor drops? The waves are taking the boat or ship in different directions. So the anchor's dropped to anchor the ship to the bottom of the lake, of the ocean, of the sea, wherever they're at. So that way, when the waves blow and move the boat or ship, it doesn't go anywhere. It anchors it to where it stays. It may drift a couple feet, but it's not going to, if it wasn't anchored down, it could drift. And let's say it was a yacht and you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, you could be somewhere totally different than where you stopped at, because of course the wind's going to blow, the waves are going to roll, and it's going to take the ship, boat, yacht somewhere else. So an anchor's dropped to keep it where it's supposed to be. So no matter what the wind conditions are, no matter what the weather's like, that the boat, ship, whatever it is going to stay right where it was intended to stay. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today is anchors. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what anchor habits are. So when we talk about anchor, we know that that's going to keep us grounded. It's going to keep us in rough times and rough storms. It's going to keep us in the same spot. Generally, it's not going to take us way off course. Like I said, we may move a few feet, but we're going to stay right where we need to stay. And when we talk about habits, that's things we do every day. And so when we talk about anchor habits, we're talking about the small or core routines that are ingrained in us each day, that we're doing each day. So as I was getting ready for today's show, I had my definition of anchor habits and was thinking about anchor habits, and I'll go to Ask Google and see what anchor habits are, and see what's out there on anchor habits. So I pulled up, typed in anchor habits, and I pulled up anchors habits. And the interesting thing is that what Ask Google has, when I typed in that, is different from the perspective that I have. So when I typed that into Google, anchor habits, it talked about you already have these habits that you do on a daily basis. They're ingrained. And it's talking about when you're creating new habits, how to attach them to those anchor habits, how to attach them to those habits that are already set in stone. And so these are anchor habits that you anchor onto those habits. And I was thinking about that. I thought, well, but that's like saying, we already have an anchor and we're going to take our boat or ship and attach it to that anchor. Well, that's fine and dandy. But what if we don't have an anchor? What if we're on that ship or boat or out in the sea and we want to make an anchor? That's what we want to find out, is how do we make the anchor? And all I was finding was you already have an anchor and it's telling you how to anchor your ship to the anchor. Well, that's not what I wanted. So I thought, oh, this is perfect. Then we're going to talk about how do we create those anchor habits. So this is almost like if you were going to build an anchor, this is an how to build an anchor for your ship. We're going to talk about how to craft the metal, how we're going to make the hooks, all that kind of stuff, but we're going to relate it to habits. So this is the how to on anchor. So that way when we do have those habits, now we can attach new habits to those. But how do we get those anchor habits? How do we get those habits that no matter the storm, no matter what comes up, no matter which way the wind's blowing, no matter how bad it's raining, how bad it's storming in our lives, that we anchor and we only move a short little space. We only are in a certain little area that we anchor our ship, that we don't go way off course during those storms and during those things that happen in our life. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So how do we create those anchor habits? How do we get there? First, we have to decide what's important about the change we want to make. That's really the why. What is our why? If we say somebody, we'll take weight loss for instance. If we say somebody mentioned maybe we need to lose a few pounds. So we might start thinking, I guess I'll start going to the gym, I'll get on a diet. But what if it is the doctor tells us, hey, if you don't lose weight, you're going to develop diabetes, you're going to have all these complications, it's going to shorten your lifespan. Then our why becomes a little bit different. Our why becomes about for us. Our why, when we decide what's important, it has to be important to us. A lot of times we'll do things and start creating habits because it's important to other people. But have you ever noticed that when you do that, when you start creating those things that you're doing for other people instead of for yourself, in other words, that are meaningful to them but not necessarily to you, do you stick with them long term? Chances are no, you don't. So that's why you have to find, what is your why? Why is it so important to you that you want to do this thing, whether it's get healthy, get in shape, maybe it's eat better, maybe it's maybe you've had a lot of things go on in your life and you start going back to church and you get involved with that, and that there's a why for you because you need a change, you need something different, you need something that you haven't experienced before. So it has to be a why. You have to decide what's important about the change you want to make. And then that's your why. And when you identify your why, you then can go into deciding what is needed to make those changes. That's your what. What is needed? Now this is, the what is the big picture. It's the, we'll go back to weight loss in this example. So for me, when my why, I'll go back to the first one, my why came when I was it was in 2007, might have been 2006. I was getting ready for church one day, and my shirt was, I had it tucked in, my jeans were so tight, and I was trying to untuck my shirt a little bit to kind of hide my pudge. There was no hiding that belly, but I thought, if I could pull the shirt out a little bit, it would hide it. But it just frustrated me because it wouldn't come out, and it was so tight, and I literally ripped off. I just tore open the buttons and everything, and buttons went flying. It was just a disaster. And that was my moment when I decided I need a change. And that's when my why happened, was I wanted to lose weight now because I didn't want to be like this anymore. I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling anymore. And so when I decided that, I have to say, okay, now what needs to happen to make a change? Do I need to make a change? And I realized that I needed to start exercising more. I need to start doing some cardiovascular exercise. I need to eat better. That was the main thing. I need to eat better. So that was the what. That was what was needed to make the change. I need to start eating better. And I decided to go to Weight Watchers, and so Weight Watchers was what I needed to start to lose the pounds, lose the weight, work on those changes. And then really the Weight Watchers goes into the next step, which is decide how you're going to make that change. How are you going to make that change? And for me, it was Weight Watchers. I decided I was going to go to the weekly meetings. I was going to follow the plan exactly. I was going to do all their points. Why go to the meetings? Because there's other like-minded people around. You get to raise your hand, say, I lost this. I struggled with this week. You get to hear other people that are in the same boat, the same situation you are. They have those struggles. You think nobody else is having the struggle that I am. And you find out that they all, from time to time, are having those struggles with food, with exercises, with calculating points, with going out to dinner, with family, with friends, all these different things, that everybody is having the same issues. But I had to decide, how will I make that change? I decided I was going to Weight Watchers. I was going to start, I still lifted weights at the time. I didn't do any cardio. So I decided after I lost a certain amount of weight, when it kind of plateaued with the diet, I was going to start kicking in cardiovascular exercise, which I did. And so when we say the how, the what is the big picture. I need to start eating better. I need to lose weight. Okay, that's what do I need to do to lose that weight? I need to eat better and exercise more. Then the how is, okay, how am I going to do the what? How am I going to break it down into all the steps? And this is really the big part of the anchor habits. This is where it really starts to get ingrained, is that we have micro changes. Now, it took me over a year to lose 100 pounds. From the first day I went to Weight Watchers, for that first year, I lost 100 pounds in that first year. And that's not, yes, that sounds collectively in a year, that's a huge weight loss. That's roughly about 8 pounds, a month, which is only about 2 pounds a week, which again, 2 pounds a week is a good, safe, sustainable weight loss that you can manage long term. But I had to make micro changes all throughout that year. The first was just following the plan. And then I'd weigh in on Tuesdays, and I call it Fat-Free Tuesday. Because on Tuesday after I weighed in, I'd go to Sonic, I'd get me breakfast burrito, a Dr. Pepper, I might have some snacks later in the day. So I really didn't count that day as my Weight Watcher. I kind of was like, oh, I'm off that day from Weight Watchers. And then it got to the point where, in my weight loss journey, was I couldn't have a whole day because I was sabotaging myself. So I said, okay, I can't have a whole day, but I'm going to have a meal. So I usually went to Sonic right after my Weight Watcher meeting. It was in the morning. And then I'd have some kind of dessert I'd been wanting all week. I'd have it that day. And so then there was a time as the journey went on that I need to get rid of that extra snack that I'd wanted. So then I was just going to Sonic. And then it got to a point where I needed to start adding in cardiovascular exercise to start keeping those pounds going down. But all those micro changes had to happen. I had to look at food. You know, Weight Watchers gives points. So the better food you eat, the less points. The worse foods, the higher points. So you can eat all these foods, but if you make bad choices, it's going to cost you more points and you can't eat as much. The program has changed over the years, but it's still pretty much the same. And so over that year, it taught me how to eat, what choices that are going to fill me up more for less points, for less calories. And so I started making those micro changes. And that was the end of 2006 into 2007. I was making those changes, and there were micro changes. And that leads into the next one, but we'll go back a little bit about the micro changes. We have to break those down into the most minute micro changes sometimes. Sometimes if we want to start going to the gym, and maybe it just has to be that we get dressed and we pull up into the parking lot of the gym. Maybe it's we get dressed, we pull up into the parking lot, and we just make it in the front door. Maybe that micro change is that we get dressed, we go to the gym, we walk in the front door, we do a set, 15 reps of bench press, and we go home. And we keep doing those micro changes. And the thing is, we break it down to the most minute micro changes that we can keep doing. And here comes the last one, is be consistent with the micro changes until they're automatic. And then when those micro changes become automatic, we start adding another micro change. It's automatic to put on workout clothes, show up in the parking lot. It's automatic now to put on clothes, show up in the parking lot, walk through the door. It's automatic now to put on clothes, get in the car, pull in the parking lot, walk in the door, do a set, leave. It's automatic now. Those micro changes are to get dressed, get in the car, pull to the front of the gym, go into the gym, do a set, and then we do another set. See how that keeps going and it keeps growing? And for me, that was 2006, 2007. I'd always exercised. But fast forward to today, 2023, almost 16 years later, I'm still doing those same things. But it was a slow journey. It wasn't fast. And that's the key to building a strong anchor. Do you want, if you're out in the ocean, and you put out your anchor, do you want some flimsy anchor that is, it's not going to hold as soon as the wind blows too hard, It might just be a strong breeze that's going to take that anchor out and you're going to drift away. Or do you want one that is just papery, and then just as soon as it hits the rough water, it starts to disintegrate? No, you want an anchor that is strong enough that when it goes in the water, it's going to go down, and it's going to be strong enough to sink. It's going to be strong enough to grab onto the ground underneath and hold you where you are. And that's the same thing with these anchor habits. We need to build them strong, and those take time. It takes time to build a strong anchor that we put overboard. It takes time to build a strong anchor that's going to hold us in life, that's going to hold us when storms are rough. And this goes with not just only food, but relationships, work, mindset. How are you talking to yourself? How are you changing your perspective? How are you changing your mindset? How are you changing the way you think about situations? How are you changing the way you think about others? How are you regrouping and changing when bad things happen? This is all part of anchor habits. We go back to our anchor that keeps us held where we're at, so we don't stray way off course. And when we talk about anchor habits and how they're formed and created, we go through these steps. We decide, the why, we decide the what, we decide the how, and then we're consistent with the how. That time frame looks different for all of us. For me, it was 100 pounds in a year. Other people, it might be 100 pounds in 2 years. It might be 100 pounds in 4 years. For me, when I started creating a different mindset, that's been 5 years in the making. It's been 5 years in the making, working towards this podcast. It's been working towards blogging every week. It's been in the videos I put out, in all the things that I do. It's been years in the making. There's other people that may have fast-tracked and been a couple years or maybe a year, but there's no set time frame that somebody says that's either the right time or the wrong time. If we're being consistent with our micro changes, and those micro changes keep adding up, then that's what makes the difference. Are we being consistent with the micro changes? Don't worry about how long it's going to take. Be concerned about the today and the micro changes that you're making, and am I consistent today? And you'll find tomorrow, say, am I consistent today? And the next day you say, am I consistent today? And you'll start to see that those days add up, and those micro changes now become macro habits. They start becoming big habits. They start becoming your anchor habits that are so strong that nothing is going to wave them or move them from side to side. And so I encourage you to look at your habits. Do you have anchor habits, or are they just habits? Do we call them habits, or are they just kind of come and go when it's convenient? We want an anchor habit that is always there, no matter if it's convenient or not. It holds us where we need to be. And I'd love to connect with you if you have questions on anchor habits. Connect with me. You go to my website, aarondegler.com. We can connect there. There's a place you can text. You can text me. You can join my daily texting community. You can sign up for my weekly blog if you need some one-on-one coaching on how to turn those just habits that are only happen when they're convenient into anchor habits. Then connect with me, and we can talk about that. We can go through that and start to change those fly-by-night habits into anchor habits. And anchor habits hold us when the storm of life comes. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us in the same place so we don't go off track. So, hey, thanks for stopping by and visiting with me today. As I tell my wife Kim every night before I go to bed, it's bottom of the ninth, double A,